けばかりお前の嘘はもううんざり Hey が今夜は自由クラブの中で Good time feeling ダンスフロアとヘビーベース真夜中のランデブー忘れない東京ナイツ夜の街遊び放題 I look for you, you look for me メールの返事が来ない今夜の予定何レディースは11時集合最終電車間に合わない電波が届かないクラブで Crazy night
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Top Drive Show. I am joined by John and Tim once again, and we have got a lot to talk about. We are going to talk about the most recent update, PL 7.5, that went out yesterday, and upcoming prize cars, and of course, we will go through your questions. So, PL 7.5 has finally dropped. Lots of really interesting discussion on the forums.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of burning questions. So we're going to get straight to that before you try to put the questions down there, because we know that you've got some concerns. We're going to run through some of that right now.
Yeah.
So what have we done?
Well, so let's talk about some good improvements that were made that were really great.
Place to start.
And then we'll talk about some other things. So one thing, this was quite interesting. When we changed the way the simulation runs cars, if people are in the middle of an event and then we switch to a different version, then they can't race each other because their cars would literally be following, slightly different rules. So we'd have to migrate people to a new leaderboard with different people, and that created situations where you could be winning and then you could migrate to another leaderboard and that you'd carry your score with you, but now you'd be in the leaderboard with somebody else who maybe has a higher score. Or, it was 50-50, it could go the other way. You could be not doing as well and you come out
I
winning.
think just that is just that uncertainty that it created.
And there was this whole weird bit about should I update now or I'll wait and see if we can get to the end of the event, and then after a certain point we have to mandate the update to everybody, and that created a strange set of priorities for people. So we've actually got a solution for that, which you will have seen now as you updated, and that is that you will have to switch to a new leaderboard. You can't race the people that were there before, but now you're only going to find in that leaderboard the other people who were with you before as they update. So if you were in the lead before, then you should still be in the lead when you come there. You won't get a strange surprise and meet somebody you weren't racing before.
Yeah.
So it just feels like a much cleaner way, hopefully, for everybody involved. No nasty surprises.
Yeah, exactly. So that's nice.
Yeah.
There were miscellaneous bug fixes, which are in the patch notes, and the too detailed to go into.
A few car corrections.
Yeah, exactly, things like that. But the other big thing was some changes to the physics. Now there's quite a lot going on here. One of the main things is we address the question of traction in four-wheel drive vehicles. Because for a long time, especially there seem to be a lot of really high performance cars, right, that have performance tyres and four-wheel drive.
Yes.
And so, they're very fast. And the trouble was they could go up against some sort of lower RQ off-roader in an off-road sort of situation, and they would just, win, even though it's like, oh, you haven't chosen the best car for the challenge.
Yeah.
And looking at it, overall, it seemed to be like when we examined exactly how does four-wheel drive modify the traction, it was just too generous. It kind of said, if you've got four-wheel drive, you must have loads of traction then. And
I think, it's worth mentioning that this almost kind of came up through people posting strange results.
That's right.
This was very much kind of trying to respond to that constant quest for to make this as accurate as we can.
Exactly. And I think it was the old 959 Dakar that really kicked this off. It's such an unusual car, such high performance, but with the off-road tyres, and it was like, why isn't this as advantageous as I thought it would be? This is one of the reasons. So what we've now done is taken the relative traction values as they would be in a rear-wheel drive car, for example, and basically preserve those ratios as you migrate to four-wheel drive. So all surfaces a certain amount better than performance on, you know, sand or something. Mm-hmm. It's now basically a similar amount better if both cars instead have four-wheel drive, where previously four-wheel drive weirdly sort of narrowed the difference. So previously you could get away with bringing a four-wheel drive performance car onto, you know, some kind of crazy snowy twisty road or something almost, and not be as annihilated as you probably should be. That's now going away. And on the flip side, if you've got four-wheel drive and off-road tyres, you will now have a bit more of an advantage in those conditions against four-wheel drive with all-surface tyres. So that should more align with what people would expect.
Yeah. So that's good.
Yeah, that's good, isn't it? Good.
That's good.
Yes. Now let's talk about another thing.
Is it good?
It might be.
Oh.
Well, so hills in top drives. What's the steepest hill in real life that cars ever drive up?
I would be guessing like 20%.
Yeah, exactly, like 20% or 30% of maybe some really crazy extreme situation. So we've got hills in our game with a gradient of 60% if you just strictly look at the diorama as we made it. And so one of the things we also, very steep, basically extremely steep. And so in the previous update we're like, we should make everything realistic. Let's just, like, there it is, it should actually be that hard to get up. And then loads of people found, all these cars don't make it up at all.
Yeah, which isn't actually a particularly fun outcome.
That's right.
Obviously.
Realistic, yes, but not fun. And generally, we're always trying to get realistic. But in this case, it's like, these challenges are kind of too steep. And rather than get out all our 3D artists again and go, can you make that hill again, but like make it a little bit smaller? We're like, well, okay, we can sort of go back kind of to how it was before and just treat them as if they are not as steep in the physics. Just go, all right, just sort of dial it down a bit. It's like a diorama, it's representative of a hill, but the actual hill is less steep. So you can make it up the hills.
It feels like that may have gone a little bit too far.
Well, yes, let's turn to the community and let's see what's going on. Oh, I'm reading, everything is on fire, what's happening, and overall, I actually looked at it earlier, I would say hills are definitely too flat now. They're basically treated a lot flatter than they looked. I checked it out. That like hill dirt, it's like you described it as almost
it's almost a drag race.
It's almost a drag race.
It's that incline, and also it's worth mentioning as well that dirt is our least off-road surface.
Yes.
So actually, although there is and this feels quite accurate as well, on a kind of dirt drag race, although kind of say a rear-wheel drive performance car would struggle to get off the line, once it's actually got traction and is up to speed, it can put down most of its power.
Yeah.
So actually, a dirt drag race with a slight incline is going to throw up some unusual results.
Yeah.
Where off-roaders really, particularly, they're not a lot of them are not the fastest cars. I think we've seen a lot of people posting the 280 GE G-Wagon Mercedes, which is great in proper off-road conditions, but is not a particularly quick vehicle. And so it is we would admit it is looking a bit odd, some of the results that are coming up. And
it's combining with the fix from last time where we made it correctly so that being heavier makes it harder to get up a hill, and a lot of the good off-roaders are very heavy, so that was tilting against them a little bit already. I would say it's gone too far. So what are we going to do about this, right? Well, I think that given that modelling hills exactly as they are is too steep and this is too little, we should go somewhere in the middle, but where that should be,
that's the question, really,
isn't it? Question,
and it's because whatever we choose is it's going to be arbitrary to a certain degree. It's kind of, where do we want to draw the line? I think you were saying earlier, like, where do we want to draw? What sort of cars do we want to be making it up a dirt hill climb? And I think that's something that hopefully we could maybe kind of engage with the community about. Maybe get some examples up there, and just.
Yeah, so what I think that is the way to go. So currently thinking, we're going to put together some sort of way of saying putting it to the community, like on a hill like this that's dirt and maybe one that's snow, what would you expect to make it up and what would you expect to not make it at all? And we can then adjust how we treat steepness and go, all right, that is what we're going to go with in this game. That is how we're going to treat these hills.
Yeah.
I should say as well, we mentioned it last time when we talked about adjusting steepness. If and when we come onto an interesting future where we're modelling real world tracks, in that case, I think we should just keep the steepness exactly as it is in the real world. Real world tracks don't have the 60-degree inclines that we do anyway, so that will be, I think, how we should handle that.
Yes. So
once that time comes.
Yep.
All right.
So it's definitely I'd say probably top of the list in terms of being looked at and discussed right now.
Yeah. So I'm going to see if there's a good way to put that together and see what people think. Right. Wait, there was just one more thing. Yeah.
There's always another thing.
Yeah, we should probably cover this briefly, right?
Yeah.
The Zonda 760 RS.
760 RS. This has been. I mean, Zonda sort of Pagani's in general, but I think the Zonda special editions or the limited editions. I mean, massively limited, as in most of them are produced in examples of one.
Yep.
This was the RS was even amongst kind of that sort of company that it keeps. It was a very, very sort of special car, but just incredibly difficult to find robust figures for it. Really. I think a lot of people were getting in touch that it does have kind of claimed manufacturer figures, and the ones that we'd received from Evo were slightly different from those. Yeah. So we have made the change, which means a very, very impressive 0-60 time. Yeah. Now, but unfortunately, what does happen is when we change a 0-60 time, it creates a new acceleration curve. Yeah. So I think we've touched on it, and people have sort of figured it out that the car has a complete acceleration curve, and very rarely will you have, for any of these cars, complete telemetry of exactly what that looks. So we can get out top speed and a 0-60 and maybe a few others in the middle, and then we can go, all right, the curve probably goes through those like this. Yes. And we have a tool that generates what that curve should be out of those nodes. And we know the cars are hitting a certain kind of few key figures in there, so we know that they're real world accurate from that point of view. But unfortunately, in this case, and it got slightly overlooked, was that change in 0-60 time has subtly altered the kind of mid to high end acceleration of that car, and brought it down a little bit. So while we've made it faster off the line, it is not quite as quick in the legendary mid-range acceleration space. So
we still need to get that on a t-shirt, don't we?
I know we do. But we actually already have some new figures for it that we've discussed with Evo, and everyone's sort of happy on. And so basically, next update, that car will be getting slightly. These are kind of small alterations. But they actually make it they make it much more accurate overall.
All right, and just in terms of process, I think it's fair to say when we adjust 0-60s like this, we're just going to make sure we check on that mid-range acceleration that see it hasn't radically changed. Yes. So that's what we're going to do.
A little point for the future.
All right. So meanwhile, the update is still pretty fresh. And if there are any other strange things that you see in your neighbourhood going on, just chip in on one of the threads on the web forum. There's a 7.5 discussion thread. I think we've got one in Katie Play. See if we can put links up here. You can go in there and share with us anything you're seeing that looks wrong. But for now, the main thing we know is that hills are being treated as if they're very shallow, and that looks too far. That is known. Other stuff, if you've got it, that would be interesting.
And we're going to go back to our usual format now. You know the rules, I hope. We've got some questions from the previous episode. If you want to see your question answered, then it goes in the comments down below. And you want to upvote other comments or get people to upvote your own, I guess, so that we can pick questions for next time. But today we've got a question from Porsche Guy. Congratulations on another carbon fibre pack for this question. Could we get some more ways to obtain garage slots? My garage is getting filled up very quickly. I'm always at the point of having to sell super rares because of a lack of slots. Maybe adding some to tier 1 or 2 rewards of a big event is a solution to this, or replacing the aluminium pack in the challenge with 1 to 3 slots. Slots are a contentious...
Yeah, it's fascinating how it works. Everybody wants slots, but people don't want to forego on their carbon fibres to get more slots as much. I don't know.
They're never going to be... They're a more practical purchase.
They're less
in some
exciting.
ways.
Yeah. But the thing is, no matter how many slots you have, you're going to fill them all.
Yeah, you're going to want more.
There will always be a scarcity of slots.
So what have I got? I've got about 400 right now. And I'm running out and I need more. So yeah, that's how that works. I do think there's something interesting, which is that, I don't know, if you can get 5 slots for 400 gold and you get better value if you save up longer. I feel like if there was a prize that was 400 gold and if we said put 5 slots, people would sort of be more excited about it, even though technically 400 gold could buy you 5 slots. I don't know. It's interesting how that works. I mean, we have been we've been sort of holding back. I think there was one challenge that gave out slots or something.
Yeah, we tried it. I think it was a few weeks ago. Yeah, just a few slots. I mean, it's something that does come up. I know there are. It's definitely something that is. I feel like often saying this answer that it's being discussed, but I know there is actually a sort of proposal that's being sort of discussed on the team for how we can kind of sort of introduce them in a slightly different way.
An additional way to get them somehow.
Yes. But no, I mean, I think it's something that we can definitely feed into the challenge design process and the event design process. And just see whether we do want to maybe ramp them up a little bit in terms of their frequency. But it's difficult because with kind of the in-game currencies, there's a lot of different ways that can be used. With slots, we kind of have to keep their value and their rarity in the game, because they're a big part. I think it's about that constant balance of how big do you want your car collection to be, and kind of how varied it should be, and what you want to add and what you want to sell. It
is ultimately an important part of the strategy of the game.
Definitely,
the fact that you do have to judge what you're keeping and what you're not.
So we have to be very careful that we don't upset that balance at all. But yeah, I'd like to think there's probably ways that we can introduce a few more methods of getting slots.
Give
and
people
growing your garage.
Do you like slots a lot? Okay.
Time for our second Hutch pick. So picking up a carbon fibre pack is Bugatti Top Drives. Great name for a great channel. They're asking about upgrading the rewards for a 3-day long event, because at the moment we only give a ceramic. If it's a 3-day event, then they're suggesting that we should get a carbon fibre pack for top tier, save the ceramic packs for other tiers. Essentially just saying, for a long event you deserve slightly better rewards.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's fair to say we generally agree with that. In fact, I think if you check, just about every 3-day event is carbon fibre at the very top, and it's been like 1 or 2 anomalies over the past month where it's just been a ceramic. So as a pattern, you're correct, and that is what we should stick to, really. I think that's fine. That's not contentious.
Yep, no problem.
Fair to say it's being addressed.
Yeah.
Yep. So we'll just go straight to our next pick, which apologies to X Top Drives, who says that we missed their question last week, even though it was quite highly upvoted. So sorry about that. Your question has made it this week. So a carbon fibre pack for you, for asking, how about making 10 cards of the same rarity into a random single card, 1 rarity up? So essentially trading in your cars for one higher.
Sort of a different take on the fusion kind of idea instead of upgrading.
Some games do that. And even in the very top end, you've got legendaries you don't want. You could fuse 3 or maybe even just 2 legendaries to get a random other one. I've seen that sort of mechanic being used.
Yeah.
We did talk about that quite seriously a while ago.
Yes.
It is interesting in that it creates, a path to getting legendaries. If you're like, oh, when am I ever going to get one? It's like, well, if you just keep getting these cars, you can make them into these ones and into these ones and so on, and you'll get there. So that's quite appealing. I don't know about you. The thing that scared me most about it is that we want Top Drive to be about breadth and about like having all sorts of cars for all sorts of situations, all rarities, and that's why we run events for rare only cars or even common only cars and so on. And the worry about that was it would sort of implicitly shift the emphasis of the game. Yes. And it would be extremely tempting for loads of people to destroy all their rare and below cars and probably most of their super rares. Yes. In the hope of getting a few slightly better ones. And I think the issue was that there's a balance question, like the amount that you'd have to just set that ratio to for like the economy to hold up and things to make sense is such that you'd still get people really tempted to just decimate their entire lower end cars in order to get a few better ones and then maybe be disappointed with the ones they got.
Yeah, and I think it's just it definitely that. I mean, that could do some. It could just do some weird things to like you say, to the kind of the sort of Top Drive's world, as it were. And in a way, kind of one of the reasons when we first ever started this project, it was meant to be a game that actually sort of it's about the whole world of cars. Yeah. And like you say, it's about having a diverse car collection across all the rarities. Yeah. And I think it would be a slightly strange shift if everything just became about this constant push up. I mean, obviously, that's not taking away from the fact that legendaries are very cool, and you do want them. But we definitely want people to be thinking about their collections at all different rarities.
Exactly. So, and those other games that have this mechanic, I'm pretty sure pretty much all of them are about getting the highest and best and even better cars ever, and all those other ones are almost completely worthless. Yeah. So that they have to put that in so that you don't just get a car and go, what's the point of this? It's like it will go somewhere. Whereas Top Drives, it's like actually no, there's a reason.
Stuff. I mean part of that is actually just the great thing is that almost came from the car world itself. That the idea that there's kind of interesting cars at all levels and different types of car and styles of tires and drive and everything at all levels is something that comes from the car world. So we definitely don't want to risk undermining that completely. Yeah. So
it's an interesting idea, but it's probably just too far away from what Top Drives is. It'd be too much of a change.
That's it for our Hutch picks, but we are going to go through some more questions. I've got one in front of me from the R34 Porg, which I still love as a channel name. Here's a small idea they've had in their head for a while: wish lists.
Oh yeah.
You see a card you'd like, you press a button next to it, which you put a little star on it. In the garage section, you can have a wish list section that shows you all the cars you want to get. If you pull a card which is on your wish list, you get like a unique way to let you know that you've picked up a car you've been searching for. So that, and also it means that you can tag things so that you don't accidentally sell it or whatever.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So this is a quality of life feature. So we added the lock button.
Yep.
Yeah. So that you can lock that car and you're not going to accidentally fuse it or sell it.
It's almost like a bit of an evolution of that, or the next generation of that.
Yeah,
exactly.
They're specifically, I think it also looks like they're trying to suggest that if you get a wishlist car, that it doesn't go into your holding pool, like that it goes straight through to your garage.
Well, if you've got space.
Because you obviously, if you've got space, because you obviously want it.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, and I've had that experience of like, there's that rare, I need that one, or a second one of it. And then, I go to my holding pool and there's 17 rares and I'm like, sell. And then oh wait, what was it? Yeah. So I can see that. Yeah. So I think, on the list of quality of life type things that would be nice.
It can definitely go onto that list. Where the trouble is that list is we never know when, how quickly things are going to, surface on it.
Yeah, that's true. We like to sprinkle quality of life things in from time to time, like we did with the lock cars feature.
Yeah. Okay.
Definitely a nice idea.
Yeah.
Actually, this is completely randomly going off on a tangent, but actually, early on in the project, we didn't put it in because it had other implications. But I did also like the idea that you can kind of favorite one car at a time.
Just one.
So it's almost like your star car.
Right.
And that kind of that you could potentially, like any challenge that gets used for. there's a there's points bonus or double points or something. So it has huge risks and didn't make it in. But no, it's that there's something also quite nice about people do have sort of favourites in cars they really want and cars they really like, and I think there's something that's nice.
It reminds me of another feature people said was you could somehow star a car in your collection, and then you can just filter to just those.
Okay, yes.
And that's quite nice, especially in the late game if you've got hundreds of cars and you want to say, look what I've got. You want to be able to just go, look, these are the good ones.
Show off your faves.
Yeah.
Actually, I did. That wasn't maybe top. I even like the idea of having a top 5 almost. It's like normal stars and then maybe the special stars, and you can only have 5 of them. So in terms of kind of, if you just want to show off your Top Drives collection at a glance,
more methods to show off your collection.
But anyway,
okay. We'll go straight to the next one. Apologies for the pronunciation of this one, because the question comes from Grimjau Jaeger Yakes. I hope that's right. At the end of the last race in a match, could we see the results for each race separated instead of the total points? This would be helpful for people who skip the races.
Well, I mean, it's another one we talked a lot about.
The presentation and the flow of the matches is probably received before we launched Top Drives. Probably received the most amount of creative effort and thinking and iteration and versions, and it had such a big impact in terms of how we presented it and what information and when and how quick. What
the earliest version was this right? Was it the earliest version that you'd pick one car and then you'd watch it?
Yes.
And then you'd pick the next one and then you'd watch it.
I remember that was the original that we tested that. And we tested it up against several different variants. And one of the other variants we eventually went for.
Yes. And it was actually that it was a complete revelation actually when we did sort of speed the whole thing up and do the five choices up front. Really transformed the game. So that was a great moment. But in terms of kind of showing more of a breakdown at the end, I hate to keep putting things onto this
list.
This list, but it genuinely gets talked about a lot. There's discussions about the race info button, which is quite high level at the moment, and there's a feeling that we could do a lot more with that.
For example, the thing where people say they want to keep notes of which car won, and then you get to the end of the race and then they cross the finish line, and then the results come up, and you're like, oh, what time did I get? Or something, for example. There's just preserving that information.
So I think if we did anything, I think we would probably put it sort of under a button or something like that, so that it's kind of optional, so that we're not necessarily overloading the final screens or making people go through more steps.
Just keep the experience tidy.
It's there if you want it. I mean, the game actually produces sort of full telemetry graphs for the cars in the challenge, which is another. It's sort of useful in a way, but it's just also fascinating seeing your car against its competitor and where it made up ground, where it lost ground. There's a lot of things that get talked about that we could look at that end of race flow and giving more information.
Exactly. Just while being careful of the experience for new players to the game, not making it even more overwhelming than it kind of already is.
There's a lot of data, a lot of numbers there. Anyway, so
it's an endless well of statistician nightmare.
There's loads in there.
Brilliant. All right, we'll do one more question. This one comes from DC Plays HD, who asks, what about a versus mode? Sometimes you want to race, you don't have the tickets, you still want to play a bit more. A versus mode would let you race against other players in events without ranking, and you could have different requirements, make it quite varied. You could even have it affect your trophies if you really wanted. Been thinking about this concept and ways to balance it. Let me know what you think.
So, I mean, you already do race against other players. I assume this means outside of events without tickets and
sort of
like live?
I don't know about live, like a specific 1v1 kind of thing.
I'm not quite sure what it means.
I probably shouldn't go off on crazy tangents too much. I'll get into trouble. I've always wanted to try a live versus version of Top Drive. I feel like there could definitely be something quite interesting in that space. Of introducing sort of a little bit of second guessing your opponent.
So as in what you can see.
Maybe you could see their 5 cards, but you don't know which one they're going to use for which challenge.
Right. So currently you see exactly which one's where.
Yes, and I think with the idea of kind of sort of real people and real choices. You've got that interesting thing of just like, right, is he going to use that supercar for that drag race?
We tested having your opponent's cards be hidden during this long creative hash that we had before launch.
That was one of the versions, and it was quite tricky.
And actually didn't work as well. I think in the kind of in the main way of playing top drives. Yeah. But I think there probably is something in a versus mode. We simply haven't tried it.
Yeah, we could. You could have it sort of. We could bring back the dreaded HP meter that we used to have in development, when instead the points went down instead of up. That was terrifying.
Nobody liked that except me.
Yeah, but then you could do it. Like it's picked one at a time, and you alternate which player picks first. That'd be weird. It'd be like sort of battle. It would be much more of a battle than in mentality. At least.
We need to try. To be honest, it's a type of thing. We do things, sort of game jams and things like that here, kind of every now and again, where we can try out maybe some of the things that are kind of a little bit off the beaten track. And it feels like it would almost be a perfect thing to kind of give the brief as top drive versus mode, and actually just see what people on the team come up with. So it's it might just be me, but there is a lot of appetite for that, and but it's a way off.
It would be fun. I'd play that. That'd be fun. And one of the other wonderful things we get to talk about is that we've got all these fantastic events, and that comes with prize cars. We've got a prize car, and it's one that's quite near and dear to our hearts. So let's talk about that.
So 2016 Nissan GT-R Nismo edition is just quite a machine, really. I think everyone, GT-Rs through the ages have been incredibly technologically advanced in terms of they're sort of, I don't know, it's one of those things almost kind of more than their component parts. I mean, there's kind of a lot going on, but they kind of use their technology in an interesting way. I mean, they're generally quite big, heavy cars. But in terms of what they do from a performance point of view and a handling point of view, they just defy physics, basically. And I think this is the most extreme one ever in that case. I mean, standard GT-R is an impressive car. I mean, looking here, it's kind of legendary 29 RQ. The Nismo version actually it doesn't do a huge amount in terms of, there's only kind of marginal gains in sort of engine output and things like that. But they do a lot in terms of handling and aerodynamics. So it's a lot stiffer than the already stiff standard car, and with aerodynamic tweaks, and just a raft of small but sort of specialist tweaks to make it just even faster around the track. So it's incredibly rapid. 196 miles an hour top speed is not too bad for a big car like that. I mean, it's sort of not far off 2 tons, so it is a lot of car. Wow. 2.8 to 60 and 87 handling, and 4-wheel drive as well. So you've got it doesn't really have a particular weakness. So it's going to be a car that's very, very useful in an awful lot of challenges.
Yeah, and now just putting it just card to card next to the RQ29 GT-R, it doesn't look obviously better, but there's a bit of mid-range in it.
Yeah, there's a bit of mid-range in it. It's that little bit of extra output is going to kind of tell in those mid-range challenges, and it's only a point on handling, but that is going to help, and it's also a little bit lighter. So I think in challenges like the G-Force, like the slalom, you're going to see that little bit of benefit from that as well. We actually, hopefully we got a little bit of footage at some point, but this was actually, I don't know, for people who are around at the very beginning of Top Drives, there was actually a launch trailer that featured Audi R8 V10 and also a GT-R Nismo. So we actually had a shot in the very car that appears in the photo in Top Drives.
Oh, it's that one.
Yep, with Tiff Needell driving us around the Rockingham circuit here in the UK, and it's just one of the craziest cars I've ever been in. It was great actually having somebody like Tiff. It's fascinating having somebody who's obviously sort of, you know, driven, you know, raced as a, you know, as a professional, is a brilliant driver, but who can also talk and describe what they're doing at every single second as they're going around a track, and he's chatting away about what the car's doing, and it's just, you know, like I say, it's a big heavy car, and just the violence with which he was hurling it into the corners, and it was kind of just sorting things out and adjusting power and adjusting its stance and kind of just making it work was a really unusual feeling, but it's just quite a machine. Yeah, hopefully might get another shot at some point. But I thought I would, I mean, just in terms of one challenge, I thought it might kind of worth showing up.
Oh yeah.
So against something like 12C,
yeah.
so it's obviously the legendary that we use as a reference point. So around a kind of twisty circuit, I'll just play this out. I mean, the 12C is still, I know it's a few years old now, but it's still an out and out light, low supercar, really.
Yeah.
And so in this case, I think that just that little bit of kind of extra mass is going to tell, but it's a pretty close fight, you know, with a 12C. So it just loses out to the 12C around the twisty circuit. But obviously, it's not always dry in top drives, and actually quite a lot of time it's wet. And so if we just add a little bit of rain, I mean, let alone dirt or you know, more off-road things, and you can see at this point that any of your rear-wheel drive supercars are just they're just going to struggle. Whereas the GT-R, you've got all that performance still, all that handling, and it can actually kind of put its power down. And to be honest, it's a fairly easy victory in that case. So you've got something that can, you know, with a couple of upgrades could take the fight to something like a 12C in the dry, and then in the wet it's just going to walk all over it. Yeah. So it's
all right. And just to tie this all back to the beginning, the physics changes. As a four-wheel drive performance car, it does now technically have a bit less traction than it used to, but against these rear-wheel drive performance cars, legendaries, and especially the rear-wheel drive with slicks, it is still going to have a big advantage when the conditions get a little bit rougher.
So that is all we're going to talk about this time round on the Top Drive show. We've got some footage of Tiffany Dell riding around in the GT-R. He did a great road test for us over a year ago, actually. So we'll stick that somewhere in the video. And of course, go ahead and leave your questions in the comment section, and like others that you see you want to get answered, we'll be picking those up for next time. And thanks for playing Top Drives.
Straight away, we're in for a hell of a ride. Classic GT-R feel to it, like a teenager pumped up on steroids. It's fidgeting around, it's active all the way. But before we get any further, about the shock to my heart about trying to drive it fast, it's the shock of the price. You only get about £5 change from £150,000. It's 12.5 grand more than the R10 Plus, and it's a whacking £68,000 more than the standard GT-R. So what do you get for that? Another 200 horsepower? No, just another 30 horsepower. You do get a stiffer body shell, and you do get some fancy carbon fibre splitters, a carbon fibre boot, a carbon fibre rear wing, a really nice carbon fibre racing seat. But even all that only saves you 27 kilos, so it seems an awful lot of money for some very racy suspension, which I have to say is impressing me. But it still weighs 200 kilos more than the Audi, so with 10 less horsepower, surely it's going to struggle to beat the Audi. But then again, it's gripping the road. So certainly more impressive than the Audi in that respect. Oh, but it hops and skips. It's a real racy feel to it. Might not have as much power, but it's got 20% more torque than that Audi. And that's been boosted through these turbos developed on their GT3 race cars. But I feel like I'm hanging on to this. My heart's pounding. I've got the settings, I've got the diffs in R mode, which puts more power to the rear wheels, so it gets the back stepping out. I've also got the suspension in the R mode, stiffer even than doubly stiff. And of course I've got the traction control off. But I tell you what, it's gripping and going. Surely this actually is, despite its weight, going to be quicker than the Audi. I can't believe it's not going to be. Look at that, go, grip and go. Come on, come on. Well, one thing I didn't mention the Audi was it's got a soft brake pedal despite its ceramics, whereas this has got a lovely feel to the brakes. Stand on them and the pedal doesn't go soft like it does on the Audi. Oh. I'm going to have to be heartbeat checked after this. Oh God, hop, skip, go, 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 skip, hop, go, turn, hop. Feeding the power, bit of understeer, bit of oversteer, understeer. It has both. It does them all in one go.